Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Kuchera, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome in, Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Thank you for those that are following us on Facebook. We appreciate the follows. We continue to grow the audience that way. However, this is a podcast. A favor, if you have not downloaded the podcast, you're watching us here on Facebook. Thank you for that, first of all. Secondly, download the podcast. That way you can listen to the show at your convenience. That's the whole idea. The new podcast and the way it works. The same for almost 8 years now, hard to believe, with live radio and podcast. And, God, I think we were talking about this yesterday, Jack. 1,600 or 1,700 shows. A lot of shows. Focuses on education and information. Last year, we decided to shift things up a little bit, and we're doing a new show. Last year we started with Jack Russo here, is in studio with me today, and we'll introduce to guest in just a minute. Starting something new, right? That was the first one.
That was a great series last year, and
Fun.
A lot of people have said they learned more in that series than they did in business school. I just about was shocked to hear that because they said, business school is very theoretical these days. Mm-hmm. And they said, you laid out starting something from zero to get it off the ground. Now we're doing the growing something. Yeah. And I've got a great guest here in the studio, Dr. Robert Acker. He's become a professor, but now emeritus or retired. You'll tell us the story. Yeah. At UC Released, exactly. Bob was.
That's a course, isn't it? Release course.
Bob was a lawyer with me at my previous law firm. Back in the day, it was called, at the very start, Davis. It was actually Alden Davis, Stafford, and Kelman, and then Fenwick.
Davis, Stafford, Kelman, and Fenwick.
And then it changed, and there's a long story about the change because Bob doesn't know this, but I'll tell him. Blake Stafford retired this week. Like his last day was right before July 4th. And so he had to move all of his stuff. He started calling me up saying, hey, there's stuff here that has your name on it.
Oh, my God. How many years ago?
I said he kept stuff like briefs that I did. He said, they were such great briefs. I still have them. Do you want them? I'm like, okay, I'll take them. And I said, do you have anything with Bob's name? And he's like, Bob doesn't practice law anymore, does he? I said, yeah, he was lucky to get out many decades ago. But I thought I would drag him in here because in the Growing Something series we will get to, and this is a preview of it, what do you do when you've made it? Right. And then you're trying to figure out ways to give it away because I think that's sort of where Bob's at, although I'll let him speak for himself. Right?
Yes. Next chapter.
The next chapter.
That's exactly right. That's an excellent title for this, as a matter of fact.
So, Bob, tell us your journey, how you got to sort of where you are today, because I remember you as a lawyer, and then you shifted gears and got a Ph.D. in geography from UC Berkeley, right?
Let's put some dates on this.
Yes.
I met Jack in November of 1979. I had just started at Davis, Stafford, Kelman, and Fenwick, as it was in those days.
Yes.
And he was interviering at Davis, Stafford, Kelman. And
I was such a thin guy. I was so thin back then, too.
And he had hair.
And I had hair. That's right. Exactly.
What a deadly combo, huh?
It was great. I was too sexy for my shirt, as I like to say to my wife.
So, yes, right. So he came into my office, and I had two cases. Both involved the same issue, and I believe it was confidentiality agreements or
two trade secret cases.
Yes. And in one case, I was representing the employer, and the other case, the insurgent. So we had a fun time about that, about how much fun it would be if all the papers got mixed up, and based on that interview, which went incredibly smoothly, I recommended Jack to the management in the strongest possible terms, and it was due to that, really, that everything that's happened since happened.
I like that. You should take credit, because actually I do remember saying to myself, if there's only one lawyer in the firm, namely Bob, or anyone like Bob, and I thought Bob was obviously associating with good people that I could get along with, then I made the right choice in joining the firm.
Right.
Which you did.
Which I did, which was a good place to be, and it's a great place now. It's much bigger now. But what I want to set the stage is, Bob's office had 2 long sheets of that slimy gray paper that came out of the printer. It was like a heat-sensitive printer. I don't know if people remember this.
I remember.
The Lexus machines
Okay,
have
I do remember
rolls of this crummy paper, and he had it pinned to the wall, and one was, this is plaintiff's cases favoring plaintiff. These are cases favoring the rest. I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm analyzing case A versus case B, and I've got both cases right now. I'm doing both sides at the same time. And I said, how do you bill for that? He says, I just fairly decide how I spend my time between these 2 clients.
Wow.
And he said, it's great because but for the fact I have to deal with the clients, I would really like practicing law. I'll always remember that statement from you. But
That's
you
funny.
made your journey then, and you left to go back to school, right? Am I remembering that?
Let me say that was the high point of my legal career. This stuff is just relating it. And by 1985, when I turned 40, to put a number on it, that phase of my life had come to an end. The chance of my making partner was nil. I could tell anecdotes about it, but basically it was a bad fit, and that's the beginning and the end of it. So there I was. I worked a little bit in this sort of contract way in the law. I got a job finally with Matthew Bender, the legal publisher. That was a good job in that I could do it in between 9 and 11, and then take the rest of the day off.
Writing treatise material for a law publisher.
Fast.
Yes.
So then I turned to a contract basis, and then I was working 10 days a month, and that was so it was fine. Meanwhile, I met my wife, and she was a great traveler in Asia, and so we began traveling together. And after a few years of that, we began to decide to upgrade from tourists to professionals. And so there's a long story behind this, but we really don't have time. She became a museum conservator, an objects conservator who would preserve precious objects, especially those that had been dug out of the ground in provincial museums in Asia.
Wow.
And so she began retraining for that, and that took several years of chemistry, and it took internships and on and on.
Oh, where you dust off all the dust off of these things.
Archaeologists so much to a certain extent.
And get the bad crap out of it, and on and on and on. And the training took us to London, where I got a degree in Southeast Asian Studies, and she got a degree in archaeological conservation. Then we went back to California. She interned at the De Young. I took a PhD in geography at Berkeley, majoring in Southeast Asian Studies. And now, so here's second phase. Now second phase is up and running, right?
Yes.
And so now we're in 2000. I go back to Laos. I find a perfect, wonderful, beautiful spot, virtually untouched in those days.
In Laos?
Yes.
Wow.
So you land...
The old royal palace had been given by the king to the nation right after the revolution in 1975 and right before they hanged him. And this was 23 years later, and no maintenance whatever had been done on the museum except for stealing the gold and silver, you should forgive the expression.
Yes.
So it was basically precisely what she had trained to do, and it was a beautiful, beautiful spot.
Wow.
So we went back and we spent 6 months in Laos, in Luang Prabang, the royal capital. We went back the next year. I'm going a little fast. Lao-American political relations are like a sine wave. They go up and down and up and down.
Okay.
And next year they were in a down. Who cares why?
Yes.
We couldn't get a work permit. And in fact, being seen with Americans was not a real smart thing to do. So we didn't want to embarrass people, and we weren't getting anywhere. So we went to Cambodia right next door.
Okay.
The war had just ended. And
which war?
Cambodia had a civil war going on for like 20 years or so. And that had finally ended, and stuff from Angkor Wat, if people know about Southeast Asia at all, they know it's the biggest, richest temple complex in that whole part of the world. And stuff was pouring out of the ground. There was easily 100 times as much work to do in Cambodia as there was in Laos. And so Bonnie set up a conservation lab in Cambodia, visiting Laos on like a weekly basis. The problem was Laos is a garden, and Cambodia in those days at least was a garbage dump. And dead rats floated in the streets, and there were heaps of filth, and it was
third world,
despicable. No, it was
worse.
Third world is too broad a category. Okay. There's gardens and there's dumps, and this was a dump. That's all there is to it. Well, she did that for 6 years. She got cancer of the esophagus, and she died.
That's terrible. And I didn't know that was the cause of the
Well, I don't know it either, but I don't want to go into the medical side, but that's my belief anyhow.
Yes.
So after that, we had maintained this sort of weekly contact, or weeks rather than months at a time, with Laos. And the woman we had worked most closely with when we first started was the museum registrar named Van Ping Keopana. And after Bonnie's death, I got in touch with Van Ping, and I said, is there anything I can do to sort of finish off what Bonnie was up to?
Right.
And we worked out the terms of that, and I sent her some money, basically.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, she was the museum director. I'm going to drop a life lesson here.
Yes.
When your wife or husband or whatever dies and you're in a state of grief, the quacks will try to put you on Zoloft. Do not let them. It is a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
Okay?
It's true.
Hear that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's true.
So I wasted a year and a half on that, and then I spent 3 or 4 years actually recovering.
Right.
Finally, in 2016 or so, I was kind of on my feet again. I got in touch with Van Ping again. And I said, is there anything I can further do at this stage? Now I just turned 70.
Really? Okay.
And 70 begins the whole next stage, so it's a perfect fit.
Yes.
Just as the 40 to 70 with Bonnie, is a marked phase, so now we have a new marked phase.
Yes.
I should end that by the end of the old marked phase, it was old.
Mm-hmm.
I was still living in the house Bonnie and I had lived in. It was too big for me. It didn't fit.
In the Oakland Hills?
I had some water damage, and then half the house was in boxes. I couldn't deal with it because where would I go?
Mm-hmm.
I had no reason to go anyplace. It was zero. It was a zero life at the end. Then I got in touch with Van Ping and just said, is there anything I can do? And she said, yes, I've left the museum, but we have an old temple. The roof is falling in. Could you support the reconstruction of the roof? And there's this Buddhist thing about making merit and Bonnie and yada yada. So okay, let's do that. So I did that. It was supposed to be done that dry season in 6 months. It actually took 18 months. So I went back to Laos in April of 2018 for the dedication ceremony.
Where you had finished the work, where the work was done.
Where the work was done,
Okay.
It was close to Luang Prabang, but as I say, a village out of town, and met with Van Ping at the ceremony. She had just been promoted and was now, I think, third in line in the Lao cabinet, in the Ministry of Information, Culture, and Tourism, which has jurisdiction over every museum in the country. Okay? So it's good to know, especially in countries like this, but I guess generally it's good to know cabinet ministers and even sub-cabinet ministers. It's not that shabby.
Yes.
So it was immediately obvious that I had this endless opportunity. Van Ping, as I say, was a registrar. Those who know that that's sort of a backroom job, so it's no wonder that Bonnie, the conservator, another backroom job, knew the registrar. It's not a planning or finance job.
Right.
Okay? So I took a course in museology. I just finished. Today I got the actual certificate of completion. I really did. I've got this long agenda of things to do, which...
In Laos.
In Laos. Of course in Laos. Which I'm funding. Okay? Meanwhile, so we set all that up in April of 18. I began a weight loss program, which is successfully completed, and I've lost 60 pounds.
Yeah, I know. You look so amazing. You look great.
It's probably because the Buddha is digging this story at this point, okay?
Oh, the Buddha loves you.
No, why not? So back I come, and now I'm living in the tomb again, and another 6-8 months go by, and life is nothing, and the car...
In Oakland.
Yes, the car in Montclair District. Nice house, fundamentally, but I'm not keeping it up. The rug is so shabby I can't have guests. It was, still, I think I told Jack, if I give this up, I'm giving up nothing. Then I went back to Laos again in January of this year. And I noticed, basically to meet with Van Ping and get rid of some wrinkles. There's not a problem there. I noticed 2 things while I was there. The first is that there's a land boom going on, the likes of which you have never seen.
Really?
The likes of which we in California have not seen since 1855.
No kidding.
Yes.
Oh, like a gold rush.
I'll tell you exactly why.
Property building?
Yes.
It's because China is building a railroad from Kunming to Bangkok, and it's going to make 2 stops in Laos, and one of the stops will be in Luang Prabang, and so there's going to be a land rush in Luang Prabang.
Wow, interesting.
We need to go there and
talk about diversification principles.
Well, okay. Yeah,
exactly.
So we're already all there, aren't we, folks?
Right.
So then I went to Vientiane to meet with Van Ping at her office. And while there, I stayed at a hotel. And while there, I watched CNN, which I normally never ever do. And it was in the middle of that fiasco about the State of the Union.
Oh, right.
I don't even remember what the stupid thing was about. But my takeaway was these people are so dysfunctional they can't get the simplest, most obvious thing done. Is that right or wrong?
Well, here in the U.S., we have a very dysfunctional moment in American politics.
Well,
right?
Let's look forward a little bit.
Yes.
So it's like a Socratic dialogue.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
Glaucon, do you think that we're living in a time of rising political risk in the United States?
Yes.
Yes, Socrates,
yes,
we are,
absolutely.
indeed.
Yes.
Well, Glaucon, do you think it makes sense to keep all your assets in one jurisdiction at a time of rising political risk in that jurisdiction? Well, I know, Socrates, that's really bloody stupid, if you ask me. So the upshot was I sold my house.
Quickly too, right?
Well, not fast enough. I wanted
really?
Because the market is flattening. I believe this Chinese money is being withdrawn. But in any event, it would have been better to do it sooner.
Okay.
Border
You can't time that. You can't time that perfectly.
No.
Right.
I tried, but I failed.
But you did it fast. I thought it was pretty fast.
Fair.
Right?
No,
right?
Well, how long did you own the house? You did okay.
Oh, we bought it at the ideal time, October 06.
Oh, okay.
So you did okay.
No, it was not terrible. I'm not complaining. So some of the money is going to be earmarked for a riverfront property in Laos, and some of it's going to be marked for international diversification of various kinds. And that's my story. So basically, the story is life began again at 70. I had been living in a tomb. I don't know if it's coming across, but I don't feel that way now.
Yes.
Okay. So what lessons do we draw from this? I would bet your cousin Joshua never encountered exactly this situation. But what it really means is this. If somebody had come to me in 2013 and said, Bob, you're living in a tomb, for God's sake. How much longer do you think you've got on this planet? It would have been thrown away. I was not ready. Okay?
Yes.
So just saying the advice, get out there and do your thing, that's worthless.
Yes.
You have to be ready.
You have to be ready. Yeah, you have to be ready.
Right.
And I knew I was ready when instead of being numb with pain or whatever the hell I was in 2013, I was really bored. I was really frustrated. I was living in an ugly house.
Right.
I was discontented. I was dissatisfied.
Yes.
And the moral is, it's always darkest before the dawn. And what that means is when you feel dissatisfied, when you're cramped by your surroundings, when you feel this is not good enough, you're alive again.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's when you can move.
Interesting.
Right. It's like there's a book that's out that your discussion reminds me of.
Yeah.
David Brooks came out with a book about the second mountain, and he talks about, like, the first mountain is you have this career. So Bob had a career in law that ran from his 20s to his 40 or so, and then he had a career as an educator, as a professor, and as a world traveler about looking at all these places you looked at that most of us don't even go to.
Right.
I mean, people don't even know, where would you fly into Laos? Would you fly into Vietnam? Like, they'd say, where would you even get the flight?
You would, by the way.
It's Vietnam, right? So conceptually, the second mountain is, once you've made it, and once your career has made sort of a stack of money, it used to be in my dad's day to have $1 million.
Yeah, remember
my dad
that?
used to say, you could buy like 20 Cadillacs.
Right.
You know, used to say to me, you have $1 million and you buy a Cadillac, you're set, you don't have to work anymore. These days, I have clients that come in and they say, look, my goal is I want to make my first $100 million. And I just I literally fall off my chair because I say, why is it $100 million? And they're like, well, at a 5% return, that's $5 million a year. And I can't imagine I'd spend more than $5 million a year. I'm like, what happened to the idea of spending like $50,000 a year? Forget about $5 million. Right. They're like, well, you know, that wouldn't really cover my first class flights and
my Ferraris
and my skis. And I mean, they go through this list, and I say, there's so few people. I mean, obviously there are some, and it's a growing number, that can make that kind of money. But David Brooks, in his book, the latest book, is about when you get to that bottom of the first mountain, because he describes, I didn't even know this, that he went through a divorce, you know, his wife left him and his kids left, and he was at the bottom of this first mountain where he's a very successful communicator because he's on TV and radio and he's writing books and doing great things, but he's depressed.
So excelled professionally, but sounds like,
He was at the bottom.
Right.
So is that what you described that you were at in 2013? And then he woke up to the fact that, look, my goal in life is really to be more of a philosopher. So he started climbing this second mountain and learning a lot more about philosophy and saying, look, I'm a really good communicator and I should use that talent to express this philosophy, which, let me just finish this point. He likes to tie it to, he's not projecting that Trump is at the bottom of the first mountain, and if he gets impeached, he'll be at the very bottom. But it will be good for him because he'll get to climb a second mountain by maybe realizing he's hit the bottom of the first mountain, right?
Amazing.
I thought you were going to say something a little different.
Okay, good.
Which is that Brooks had two problems, one professional and the other personal. The personal one, the divorce, isolated, yada, yada.
Yes.
Professionally, he'd been a Republican, and that's not very easy for him to do anymore.
That's true.
I mean,
that's
without
true
putting
too.
any spin on
that's
it myself.
True too. Yes, that's true too.
So it's sort of my situation in that, on the one hand, I was at a personal dead end.
Yes.
And solving that at the same time showed me the economic way forward as well.
Yes.
So, I mean, there's a tie-in between the personal and the professional.
Always.
I'm going to go back real quick, something you said, and not to bring this to a Dr. Phil show, but it was interesting what you said, almost, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you're going through a painful experience in life, a loss or whatever it is. It sounds like you would say you're better off feeling the pain for a while and coming out of it versus deadening the pain?
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
I would say the pain is a symptom
right.
of something valuable.
Right. So go through it. Go through
the living part.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Interesting.
Right.
Yes.
You
instead of medicate it.
Yeah. You should.
Yeah. Do not take Zoloft.
Do not. You should realize that the pain represents a statement that you are going to get beyond this. Mm-hmm. It probably won't get a lot darker. It might for a while, but it's like you're human.
Right.
And, you know, these people that go to prison, and obviously there are a lot of people who go to prison.
I was basically outgrowing the old skin of being a widower. That's what I was doing, and that's what was hurting.
What you're doing.
Because I was breaking the old skin of being a widower.
Right.
I had her furniture I had to get rid of. Oh, my God, what a trauma.
Yes.
And her books were in boxes.
Oh, yeah,
now
I can imagine, right.
Her notes from high school.
Yes.
I mean... and then when I came back from Laos and I had to sell the house, I said, okay, well, this is going to go. I haven't looked at it in 10 years anyway. Her furniture is going to be donated. Bang, 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 bang. But to get to that point was so hard until that skin really split.
And a lot of people take a lot longer, and some people are really capable of doing it a lot faster. I don't know, like all of us are different, but there is actually playing right now, just as another footnote, there's a really good film that's playing right now. It's a little dark in places. It's called Midsommar, Midsommar. It's a Swedish film, and it's kind of the story about the life cycle.
Interesting.
A light comedy, no doubt.
It's not a comedy, but you know what they say, and here's the part that we can reflect on. They say the way the Swedes, at least in this little town, think of things is from 0 to 20, you're kind of learning.
Okay.
It's sort of like you're growing up.
Okay.
From 20 to 40, you're producing.
All right.
And that's like climbing the first mountain. From 40 to 60, really, they use different numbers, but rough numbers, 40 to 60, you should be mentoring others. And then the person asks, here's this little lecture, so what happens after 60? Well, basically you die. And they say, if you're lucky, you really plan your death, and I won't give away the punchline of the film.
Oh, that's all right.
But now, these days in America, it's like 0 to 25 or more you're learning. Maybe 25 to now it's becoming more like 60 you're earning, or 65.
Good point. Right.
And people are getting to this third stage, like 65 to 90. And then a lot of people in 90, they're all thinking, I'm going to live to 120. And the truth is, and I have this case right now where the gentleman, I won't mention his name, he's just about 90, a really sharp guy, and he can't get out of his own way, his own house. Like, he should just let stuff go, because he should realize, look, it's tough when you're 90 and you're not walking anymore, and a lot of stuff is playing out. You should be starting to realize, just start giving stuff away, man. Just give stuff away, just lighten the load. And you've accomplished that, and you've done it in a way where you're helping these people in a foreign country.
Right.
Of course, people would probably say to you, if they wanted to be critical, why don't you go to, stay in
your own backyard.
Yeah, why don't you stay here and fix up here, fix up all the homeless here, is what they would say. But, I think what you're doing is great.
Yeah, I don't know balls about how to straighten out the homeless problem.
Yes, right. It's a big problem, right?
No, it is. Of course it is. Anybody can
see that. And we don't have any
that.
solutions here.
I know. And it's the same problem as the border, which is if you make things nice, it's attractive, and if you make things crappy, then it's brutal.
Right.
So how did
I don't know what to do about it.
Right.
So how did philosophically, then, how did the weight loss coincide with this? Did this also coincide with this new chapter in your life, or was that just something you made a decision to do?
No,
because that's a big deal.
But first tell us the trigger. Tell us the trigger, because it's so funny. Tell us the trigger
there
for
are
it.
basically three legs to it. Leg number one is this. I was there in April of 18.
In Laos.
Okay. Yes, I was staying at a hotel for foreigners.
Which is a decent hotel.
Yeah, and a good hotel. It was right on the Mekong. It was a beautiful hotel. And they were serving rice with every meal, and I had gotten into the rice with every meal thing.
Okay.
And they were charging $2 for a portion of rice.
What?
When the Lao price for a portion of rice is 10 bloody cents.
Oh, you were being gouged.
I am not
taking advantage of the Americans.
I would
Dumb
choke.
Americans.
I would choke before I finished the first mouthful. Okay. So that was that.
That's funny.
That was the first thing. I cut the carbs, and having cut the carbs, I started.
Because you were resenting the price.
Yes, I started losing a pound a week. I did not go after 5 weeks. I noticed
that is so
this,
funny.
And
so I didn't go
give
back.
That restaurant a really positive applause here.
Give it a Yelp review.
Yelp review. Help me lose 60 pounds.
Right. Price point for the gods. It was. So that's the first reason. The second reason is, as I say, the Buddha may or may not have something to do with it. The third reason, I was saying this before the show, it was 40 weeks from then to the election, and in that time I lost 40 pounds of ugly fat.
Amazing.
And then the Republicans lost 40 seats in Congress. Some people think this is a coincidence.
Wow, you caused it.
I'll let it go with that.
That's great. But Bob looks great. I tell you, you look great. I assume you don't want to lose any more weight, right? You're right at where you want to be?
I stabilized at minus 63.
Wow.
And then
great.
so I'm now about minus 58.
Well, you've probably added another 20 years of longevity to your life.
That's exactly what we're going to talk about right after the show, Jack.
There you go.
Yeah, because the key is keeping it off. I'm one of these people who can't stand the word diet because it says temporary to me.
Yes.
It's all about temporary, and it should become a lifestyle. What
absolutely
you do.
No, it's just arithmetic.
Yeah.
It's just arithmetic. If you take in 500 fewer calories
here we
a day,
go. We're going to go into a diet.
Changing nothing else. No more exercise, no diet.
Just 500.
Don't give up anything.
Okay.
Just drop 500 calories a day from your existing diet, and you will lose a pound a week.
So you're saying it's with the mathematics.
It's mathematically inevitable.
So that's 7 times 500, 3,500 calories.
Okay, so basically, it was minus 300 in rice and minus 200 in cheese, and that was it.
Oh, there you go.
And that was it.
Oh, you got rid of the cheese, too. But you didn't get rid of any of the wine or beer or alcohol.
That's my problem, the beer and the wine.
A lot of people think the beer and the wine is the problem, right? Yeah.
If you just start with now as the null set and lose 500 calories in any form, you will lose weight. It's inevitable.
But you never felt deprived because you kept thinking of rice as those gougers. Like you had the image of, I'm not eating rice anymore, period, full stop, right? Even if they gave it to you for 10 cents, you wouldn't eat it.
Foolish American. You don't realize.
Everybody says find something to motivate you, right?
That's a huge story to
funny.
me.
Yeah.
Because I think what you did was probably more valuable than any other thing that you could do for your own longevity. Is losing that weight.
There's not the slightest question in my mind about that.
Right, clear. It's clear to me. And it's probably given you a whole reason
clearer when you feel it in your own body.
But will you go back to that restaurant? I'm just curious. Will you actually ever go back to give them a little applause?
I did go back in January.
Okay.
There was another issue that ticked me off, which is there was new construction going on next door, and they had not told me about it, and I felt there was a failure of frankness. Okay. But going there and not eating rice is one of my great pleasures in life.
You didn't say to them, look at me, look at what you've been able to hear.
They said it to me.
They said it to you? Wow.
And I said, well, it's all your fault. So
One of the things we hear about, we have a few more minutes, one of the things you hear about all the time, so I want you to speak to it a little bit, is this idea of peace or reaching a point in your life. I mean, it's nice to have a plan and say, I want to work, I want to invest, I'm going to become then I'm going to go to stage 2, 3, in your case, new chapter. Through all those processes, is there a point where also you could feel like you're at peace each day? In general, I mean, life's not perfect, but tell us a little bit about that.
I would not put it in those terms.
Okay.
To tell you the truth.
Tell us about how that.
As I say, the life I had been living up until a year ago was not worth living.
Okay.
And I reached that conclusion with perfect clarity. And so when I first cooked up this financial diversification scheme, Jeff is also my personal lawyer.
Sounds smart.
And so he asked me about it. And I told him about it, and I could see that he was checking me out, as in, is this guy over the hill or around the bend or wherever people go?
Or is he on new medication?
No, I could see he was watching me. and I basically said, look, I'm giving up nothing. It doesn't matter if I die doing this, okay? I'm at 0.0. Anything I do is a gain. So, no, it wasn't a matter of peace. It was a matter of reactivating life.
Okay. But I think your question is really good, because I talked to my mom. What you just said made me think of it. And she says, and she's going to be 89, and she says, or 88, I shouldn't say she's older than what she is. Be careful. She listens to these shows. She's one of your avid listeners. She said, her sister died recently. Sister died at like 94. So she said, I don't really think life is worth living. There's so much pain, so much this, so much that. I said, Ma, you should get out to the community and go into the pool. And she's like, no, I'm just so tired. And I kept thinking, if she lost a bunch of weight, and then if she had like a trainer, and if she lived in a place where you get in the elevator and you go to the pool instead of living in this big old house that she has, you actually get more connected, and then you have a purpose. And that's really this point of the seventh essence. When you're doing philanthropy with a purpose, which is what Dr. Acker is doing, Bob Acker is doing here, you're actually funding something that you can see the improvements. It's not like the Red Cross where 78 cents of it goes to some bureaucracy and 22 cents might actually come out of it, right?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, so take the temple, for example. So I saw pictures of the work in progress. I came back and I saw the actual temple. I saw the gilding. And it's a very elaborate affair. But what was the relationship between the work and the budget? I have no idea. I'm taking it on trust, that the budget is a good faith representation of the work, and that they did not take half the money and go to Macau for the weekend.
But the numbers are not nutty.
I don't know that.
But the numbers are not nutty. It's not like you spend $100,000 on this whole improvement, right? It's like rice is $2 versus 10 cents. I imagine construction is similarly relatively small numbers.
I don't think there's anything like that kind of markup. Nothing like that kind of markup.
So I'm curious, getting back to the land.
But the point is, it's done on the basis of trust. It's not based on the basis of audited statements.
I got it. Yeah. But you're seeing tangible results. It's not like, they took the money and ran off, totally without doing any work. But I'm kind of curious, when you look at the land deals, given this Silk Road thing that China's producing, what are the numbers like? What do you get, a hectare of land for $1,000? Or what do you get? Like,
I would say they've already had the best part of their land boom behind them.
I see. Okay.
But if I were to get good riverfront property of about a half an acre, and on the Mekong, and build a teak house on it, I'd say I could get out for under $200.
Really?
Yeah.
So land and build and everything.
Yeah.
With the teak house.
Yeah.
A house made of teak wood. Like 1,000 square feet, or more than that?
The model I have in mind is more like
2,000 square. It's a big house, right?
That's
right on the river.
No, I'm living at 1,500 now, and I don't like it, frankly.
Too small?
So,
Too small.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. But you'll have a view, and then you'll have the rainy season and the whole 9 yards, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
All right. Well, we're just about out of time, so...
Well, we have to have Bob come back when he
we do. That's a great story.
Absolutely. Are you going to visit, or are you staying there?
Can I spend 1 minute?
Yes.
If anybody's interested in supporting the Zine program in Laos, look up Charities Aid Foundation of America, CAFamerica.org, and you can either enter Bonnie or Laos in the search engine, or you'll find it. So, help me out here. I can't carry the whole country myself.
CFA, what is it called? CFA?
Charities Aid Foundation of America, CAFamerica.org.
Okay, CAF. I think you said CFA.
No,
CAFamerica.org/Bonnie?
No, just .org.
And then
you'll have to find your way.
Okay. Because the sub-charity you have now is
the Bonnie Baskin Fund for Lao culture or something. But
Very
you'll
good.
Find it.
Okay. That's a great show. Thank you. Great information.
Thanks,
it was really good. Real quick, Jack, remind everybody where they can reach you.
I was lucky enough to meet Bob, but he's responsible for all my success. I have to say, there were a few other people at Davis Stafford too, but Bob really drew me in. And I'm so happy he's here, but I'm the managing partner of Computer Law Group. I established that after leaving that wonderful firm, and grew the firm since then. And we're in Palo Alto, California at 650-327-9800. And of course, no one uses the phone anymore, so the email is jrusso, JRUSSO @computerlaw.com.
All right.
And thanks for having us, Joe.
Yeah, great show.
I could not have gotten this discussion from Bob without pushing him in the direction of raise some money for your charity online and do it here.
Yeah. Great show, Bob. Thanks for sharing it with us today.
Okay.
This is Joe Kuchera at the Real Estate Radio Live. Thanks again for tuning in. Take care.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at RERadiolive.com.